Hey everyone, finished watching the next episode, Green with Evil Part 3. Rita summons Scorpina, meanwhile Jason is trapped with Goldar in the Dark Dimension. I've always loved the scenes of Jason hiding under the mist while Goldar stabs blindly at the ground. There's a distortion or something in the bottom left corner at 4 minutes 3 seconds. Like in the past, here's a legitimate thing the Reversion crew could have done something about, but didn't. Some of the effects added here are pretty cool. Goldar's sword is accompanied by a slice text effect. And a few years before Troy, Jason goes Super Saiyan. At the juice bar, Kim is looking for Jason. Bulk and Skull offer to help look for him in exchange for kisses. Kim agrees, but ducks at the last second, so Skull accidentally kisses Bulk. The scene gets a smooch text effect and a little lipstick graphic. They run off and Kim bumps into Tommy. She asks him about Jason, but Tommy responds he was supposed to meet him after school, but never showed. Zach tells Kim he knows Jason was there, and he goes to talk to Tommy. Rita is spying and sends the putties to keep them away. It's here we get the first dance-off commercial bumper. According to producer Dan Evans, this was something to stretch out the runtime of episodes that ran short. Tommy is sent to take over for Goldar in the Dark Dimension. He appears morphed, and Jason questions why he obeys Rita despite being a ranger. Up on the moon, Babu is scared of Scorpina, and for one line, his voice changes for some reason.
Please do me a favor and keep her stinger away from me.
This isn't something the Reversion added, it was in the original too. At the command center, the Rangers figure out how to teleport Jason to safety. Goldar punishes Tommy for failing to kill Jason by leaving him in the Dark Dimension. Back with the Rangers, Jason explains what happened. He tells them he just finished talking to Tommy. Zach tells him Tommy said he didn't show up. Jason brushes it off and continues his story. Suddenly, the alarm sounds. Scorpina is attacking the city. The Rangers leap into battle, accompanied by new background effects and footage of their Zords. I'd like to point out the impressive lip-sync job the original episode did with Scorpina.
Go, Putty Patrol! Attack the Power Rangers!
The Rangers regroup at the command center. Rita sends down Goldar and makes him grow. This episode is pretty good. The Reversion doesn't really add anything. The dance-off bit is the most interesting thing here. It uses footage from an episode that hasn't even come up yet in this specific season. The original picture I drew for this one was Haruhi Suzumiya with a scorpion tail. I'd been watching Haruhi Suzumiya at the time, and her English voice actor Wendy Lee was also the voice of Scorpina. I'm most familiar with her as TK in Digimon and Konata and Lucky Star, but Scorpina and Haruhi sound the most similar. Part 4. This episode is a bit redundant, mostly continuing off of stuff that's already happened. There's a few bright spots, though, like Bulk and Skull. They get some pretty entertaining stuff to do, at least in the original version of this episode they did. For some reason, one of their funniest bits is completely removed. Bulk and Skull are at the juice bar when Goldar attacks. Ernie is evacuating the building. Skull gets up to leave, but Bulk firmly yanks him back down. I'm not finished with my ice cream yet, he says to Skull. Skull sits next to him, twiddling his thumbs, when suddenly a beam crashes right in front of them. Bulk downs the whole bowl of ice cream and tells his friend through a mouthful, "Now I'm finished." They then run out of the building. I have no idea why what's easily one of the better parts of this episode is cut. A few episodes ago, the bit with the genie's lamp was cut. Alright, maybe it was for time and it wasn't a plot-relevant scene. Then there's Foul Play in the Sky, where a scene that was very much plot-relevant, Squat poisoning the drink of someone to make them fall asleep, is cut. There is a scene where Squat says he did it, so maybe the Reversion crew thought it was good enough, or possibly it was bizarre censorship from Disney standards, but then there's this. Was this a standards issue? Did they think Bulk choosing to stay in a collapsing building was potentially going to inspire kids to do the same? Was this a situation where all of a sudden they were squeamish about acknowledging the fact that buildings routinely get damaged during kaiju sequences? It wouldn't be the first time. Back in SPD, out of nowhere, a monster comments on a building it's currently destroying being empty.
I hate empty buildings!
Buildings getting destroyed has been happening in Power Rangers since the beginning. It's a staple of the tokusatsu genre. Hell, even Thomas the Tank Engine routinely features destructive sequences. It's not even like it was a potentially sensitive issue like back when Time Force had to censor some scenes due to the World Trade Center attacks. Maybe it was cut for time, but if that's the case, it was a poor choice. I'd rather they cut one of the more dragging scenes, like the Rangers not being able to morph, but then just immediately fixing the problem. Throughout the Reversion series, the text effects and things like that I consider unnecessary and occasionally obtrusive, but cutting large scenes like this is unacceptable. Trimming a scene or a line I can understand, but these are major scenes being removed for no discernible reason. Back to the plot, Bulk and Skull get out of the juice bar and take the youth center bus to escape. The license plate is blurred. Seriously, what was the deal with 20-year-old license plates being obscured? It's right there in the middle of the screen. It must have been okayed or something. I know blurring out license plates wasn't a thing in Disney's reruns because I've seen Disney's reruns. They didn't do this. While that's happening, the Green Ranger sneaks into the command center, deactivates Alpha, and sabotages Zordon.
Seen it.
Goldar captures Vulcan's skull in the bus and threatens to drop it off a cliffside. I stopped bothering to mention the commercial bumpers since they're nothing special, same old, same old. However, this episode features a bizarre mistake in this one. There's a series of bumpers with each Ranger listing out their weapons and Zord. Billy's, for some reason, says his weapon is the Power Sword. Now, if it had said Mega Sword, I might have thought it was a clever joke. At the command center, Alpha reactivates and traps Tommy in a force field. The Rangers summon the Zords and catch Vulcan's skull before the bus is pushed off the cliff. Now, I think this is where a few scenes could have been cut. The Zords all take their time coming together, and the whole formation sequence plays. I don't think it's a problem, but cutting this down would quicken the pace and make narrative sense. The Rangers are in a hurry. If anything had to be cut, why not the scene that plays in nearly every episode? Scorpina grows into her monster form here. I've always found this weird. Every other villain looks about the same when they grow. Only the genie monster, I think, changed in a significant way. I wonder if Scorpina going from a normal-looking human to a bug monster was an inspiration for Scorpius and Trachina in Lost Galaxy. Their names do sound like Scorpina, especially when combined. Maybe Scorpina is related to them. An eclipse weakens the solar-powered Megazord. Rita teleports Tommy out of the command center and makes him grow. The now giant Green Ranger battles the Megazord, and this is really surreal to see. With 3 villains working against them, the Megazord is defeated, and Rita opens a hole in the ground and sinks them into lava. The Rangers retreat to the command center. The Rangers see on the viewing globe a scan of the Green Ranger's identity. It's Tommy. The Green Ranger miniseries is 5 parts, and it's evident Saban was really stretching to fill out that time. Still, there manages to be plenty of fun stuff, at least if you're watching the original and not this reversion. I am glad I decided to watch through this. It's allowed me to see Mighty Morphin Power Rangers from a different perspective. I'm also glad the series is somewhat preserved through its YouTube uploads. Everyone can see for themselves how the series was handled and decide for themselves what edits and alterations were good or bad. Next time, the final part of the Green Ranger miniseries. That's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.